welcome back to Cast Me to Hell with me, Seb.
And me, Robbie.
And here we are as part of our must-see horror season. Our ongoing section and feature that's been, I don't know how many, it's like 2 years now, that we've been trying to get for a poster of what was deemed from an Amazon buy as 100 greatest horror films ever to watch that you must see before you die. We've said many times that we've got this poster. Many people would question if all of these films are must-see horror, and that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
We're deciding if this promotional material that we found from Amazon and is widely available is actually must-see horrors. And we've had a good mixed bag so far, I think.
We have, and we've had some lively debate, and we've had some disagreements. It is an ongoing feature, so if you haven't checked out our other ones, go and check them out. Now, this film that we're doing, fitting for today because it's the hottest day in June when we're recording this, is fucking roasting.
Yeah.
And
UK roasting.
UK roasting.
High humidity.
Yes. Sticky, horrid. I imagine this is what it must feel like to be in the Hewitt house. So
yes.
We're doing a kind of 4D recording experience. We did the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which we both agreed.
I was going to say, we haven't actually said what the film was yet.
Yeah, we have. I mean, people read the titles.
Yeah.
So we have done the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so we're going to be doing I believe it's 2003.
Yeah, remake.
Directed by... I was about to call him Marcus Nipple, but it's actually Marcus Nispel.
Yes.
So make sure to read his name before
Marcus Nispel, who, for Michael Bay's Platinum Dunes, which did a whole range of these remakes in the early to mid 2000s.
Yeah.
And they ranged in quality, but they were mainly some of the better of all of the range of different remakes that came out around the time, I think. Marcus Nispel obviously also did the Friday the 13th remake, which is one that I think grew on me over time, to be honest. When I first watched it, I was like, this isn't great, but over time I started to think, actually, I kind of like the way that they've kind of blended the first three films into this kind of different remake. It's not exactly the same.
Yeah.
But the one that we're doing today was always, in my mind, the best of any of the remakes that I'd mainly seen. Not the best remake of all time of a horror film kind of thing. That probably goes to John Carpenter's The Thing. Probably. Of a horror film, I think. Of the one popping off the top of my head. That's probably the greatest way to reinvent a kind of thing. Kind of film like in that way. But I think that's the word, actually, reinvent is a good way to say it, because I think this is not a straightforward remake like many are. Some of them are literally like shot-for-shot remakes. Some of them are done in odd ways. Obviously, in the late 90s, you had the Psycho remake, which was literally an odd choice of going, we're going to do it in colour, shot-for-shot, and redo Psycho. And most people hated that, because it was like, why? If you're going to redo it, what's the point in doing that kind of thing?
Yeah.
But this one's also controversial, obviously, because, I mean, Texas Chainsaw for many is the holy grail of horror. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is the ultimate horror, psychological kind of fuck with you kind of horror that gave people literal disgusting nightmares for a long time. People who even like horror, who don't get scared by horror, say that it fucked with their head the first time they saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
And obviously we've covered that previously. I remember us talking about the effect of some of those kind of real psychological thrills. Now, I think one of the best parts about this version is the fact that, although I do think there are many things that psychologically fuck with you in this film, I feel that with this version, one, they go with a slight difference of story. I'm not saying it's completely different, it's still Leatherface at the end of the day. But the other thing is, I would say that they go harder on the gore with this version to not make it exactly the same as the original, which sounds, when you say it out loud like that, kind of, well, that shit in comparison.
Yeah.
But I always had a major, I think this was the first version I saw anyway. I didn't see the original first. So I saw this version first, so I always had a kind of soft spot. But I know there is a lot of hate for this film. It's a controversial one. There are some people that absolutely love this one, and there are some people that really dislike it. Although I'd like to imagine time has been somewhat helped people. People tend to turn around on these things, like the more and more you go around them. It's like the Star Wars prequels. Once upon a time, they were the most hated film of any prequels now, and now a lot of people look at them and go, well, I guess after they saw Rise of Skywalker, they went, we were too harsh on you. Poor Phantom Menace, we were too harsh on you.
Yeah, poor trade disputes and vague Chinese racism.
Yes,
you know,
there's still not great there, but they still look back and they go, well, Ewan McGregor was fucking class.
Yeah, Ewan McGregor was class. I think we could all agree on that.
Yeah.
And I think
that's the end of this episode.
Yeah, that's the end of this
Ewan
episode.
McGregor's class. Nothing to do with it.
I think we could all agree that you need to make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave us a lovely review. It's really appreciated, and it does help us climb the rankings so we can meet more people. And one day, make money from this. One day. Probably never going to happen, but one day we'll get that Rogan money. So yeah, make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave us a lovely review. I kind of feel that this film does, it works a lot more as a really strong modernisation for me. There are some elements of this film that I think are fantastic, and I kind of really do enjoy it. Compared to the original, when I was watching this, I found it really hard not to compare it to the original. And I went through kind of this odd phase where I would watch this film and then I would watch the prequel, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, and I found myself always returning to that one. I actually rewatched it just before you turned up because I find that outside of the original, I feel like that one just holds up so well, and I think it's so great, and it builds on a lot of the stuff that I enjoy about this one, but it works on the weaknesses of this film, I think. And just to give you kind of a hint about our next episode, one of the characters in this film plays the lead in the sequel to next week's film. If you can figure that out, it's there for you. A little breadcrumb as we kind of fall.
Well, a little breadcrumb to add on to that breadcrumb is the director of next week's film was originally considered to be the director of this film.
Yes.
So he was or I believe was offered it, but was told not to do it by Mr. Quentin Tarantino. But I'm not going to say who it is.
We're not.
There you go. We've given you something. See if you can work it out.
Yes. I really like the opening of this film. I feel like the opening of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre with the opening crawl and the narrator talking over it really sets this kind of dark tone, and I like that they've kept it in this one, but going with the modernisation, it's the kind of follow through of
footage, the police footage kind of thing, and telling it like a kind of news report kind of in that kind of way. I really love it. I also love the fact, I mean, this kind of bookends the film because we get a bit at the beginning and then obviously a quick bit at the end. But I love the way that there's so many little, like, obviously the first time you watch this, there's a lot of things that you might not have noticed or thought about, and it gives a lot of clues about the whole film just in this opening. It gives shots of things like where...
Well, they point out the clot of hair on the board and the scraped nails on the wall.
There's a nail stuck in there.
Yeah.
And then you've even just got shots of, like, things that were from the scene, like a gun that was on the ground. You've got the top of the van, which has been obviously smashed up, like all mashed up kind of thing. The poster that was on top of the thing, the Mad magazine one, I think it is. All of these little hints of what's to come kind of thing for these characters, which I think is a really clever and fun way. And I also think it's actually quite a creepy kind of introduction as well, because it really gives you insight. The same way the opening crawl gave you that kind of, this is a true story kind of thing, which obviously we know it's not exactly. It's all based on Ed Gein, kind of that kind of inspired, like again with things like Psycho and stuff like that. But it's been twisted into that. But again, it still makes it kind of creepy that you've got something of similar ideas, and it's not like, even though it's not a true story, it's not that there's not, including Ed Gein, but also other examples of these kind of murdering that have happened in places like kind of Texas or other parts of America. So it gives you that really creepy kind of opening with the officer going down the stairs and looking around, and then it kind of cuts off for you to find out at the end a little bit of that. And
Steve Jablonsky, I believe you pronounce it, his score is great. The way he uses that kind of returning motif of like it's, I don't know if it's like a camera processing, like I'm not sure what it is, but the way in which that's kind of introduced into this kind of like quite brooding score, I think is great. He did the score for the Friday the 13th remake and the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. And he's done some really good scores. Say what you will about the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, the score is actually pretty good. You know, it's not up there with the original, but it's a good score.
Yeah. That's one of those things I think with the Platinum Dunes things that is when looking. A lot of them, to be fair, I do think are mainly look pretty good. The musical scores, the sound, the effects and stuff like that, for the most part, have all been pretty well done, kind of thing. Mainly they looked pretty good. It was just sometimes the script wasn't always quite up to par with some of them, but they always looked that way. And then obviously we kick into Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah,
as we get to meet our main book with like Jessica Biel as our main character and all of their kind of group.
So we got Jessica Biel as Erin Hardesty, her boyfriend Kemper, which is always a name that I kind of find a little weird. Her brother Morgan, old glasses boy, probably the highlight character of the film. You know, they got rid of Francis, who was annoying as fuck, and I understand his annoyance. You know, probably sweaty as fuck, limited wheelchair accessibility. You know, so I get it, but they've got like a new annoying guy, and then Andy and Pepper, who, I mean, Andy just strikes me as kind of like very early 2000s generic, like, guy who's going to get killed first. There's a guy who looks just like him in the Friday the 13th remake. I think there's probably one in many other films. You know, he's got like blonde hair.
And yes, he doesn't go first.
Yes, he doesn't. they do a little subversion there.
Well, I mean, I love the build up with those opening parts. We get enough of an idea. You know, you've got you've got Pepper and Andy who've got together after they literally just met Pepper like in the last state that they were in.
Yeah.
And you've got obviously the dynamic between Erin and what's his name again? Kemper. That's the one. I was like,
such a weird name.
I was like going with words. Like I was like, I know it's got Emp in it. Who've got that kind of. She's obviously the more straight laced one. He's kind of there.
Yeah.
But you know, you get the quick idea of like maybe like. He wants to do better for her, but he's not quite able to, and obviously we then get little things, because we probably won't come around to it much. Those bits about like that they've kind of smuggled drugs across in order to kind of make money and things like that, and we get things like the idea of an engagement ring and stuff like that kind of put into there to add a little kind of element. We get to know them kind of, you know, quickly as they're kind of trying to find their way through, but the opening of this is, I think, for many people, is always like the opening, obviously, of the original. We have a similarity here. We have a kind of, you know, getting a hitchhiker on the road. But obviously, in the original, it was kind of a more fucked up, like him, like doing stuff to himself, kind of a fucked up, kind of like this weird guy that's in their van, kind of thing. Whereas we have someone in this case who is the aftermath of surviving, kind of the family, basically, within this. And I always found this really like effective, this opening. Because I think maybe of the level of fucked up, but how kind of, again, one thing this works on that it does take, I think, very well from the original is that griminess, that dirtiness of the original. There's a real thing in the original film that literally I was like, I always imagine how many people got OCD from literally watching the original film.
I always want to have a shower after watching it. I mean, it's so grotty.
There's always that kind of part. The bit when in the original when when she goes into the room filled with all of the bones and the feathers and the bits and stuff, and just the dirt that's everywhere and all of that. It's just like, oh, it's like fucking hell, you know. And this kind of again sells it straight away. You've got this group of teens, and then they collect this girl that's just literally walking mindlessly down the kind of highway.
Yeah.
And they go to get her in the van, and she's, you know, not really like that responsive and kind of like that, and like what's going on, and they're not really getting a clear picture. Obviously, a lot of them are like, well, we shouldn't even be fucking doing this. Why are we picking her up? Kind of thing, you know. You know, don't pick up that. Like, she looks fucked up. And it's Erin who's very much like, no, we need to help her.
Yeah.
Like, there's something really wrong here. And she talks about like a bad man, and then like, don't do it. And then obviously as they start going like, right, where the fuck are we going to go? There's nowhere to go. Like, we have no idea where the fuck. We're just a bunch of teens going in the middle of nowhere just finding our next destination. We have no fucking clue where we are.
We're going to go see Leonard Skinner
Yeah.
with like a pound of 70s cannabis with us.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like,
Just gonna fucking
we don't want to deal
go
with
mad.
that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to deal with that.
Yeah, it's like, let's fucking just go, you know. Aaron's brother's too fucking high anyway for all this shit, as he says. It's really effective, I think, this opening, because one, there's got to be the one thing about the whole, like, one, that she's got all the blood down her legs.
Yeah.
I think you notice very quickly, but you're not really sure why or what. And there's a lot of implication of things of what could have happened to her and what's happened there and what was going on, kind of thing, that is somewhat kind of left open to what's actually happened, and it's kind of a bit more unclear. But that bit when she starts freaking out at them about the fact they're going basically in the wrong direction, back towards where she's just tried to get away from, and her freaking out for a good reason, and then when she pulls that gun from between her bloodied legs, and it opens up and things like that, which again, I think as well, though it's not actually that part's not as thing, I think there's something in your heads that just always, I remember it being even gorier than it maybe even what is, when she pulls the gun out kind of thing. It always seemed like dirtier in my head than it is, but it's still a real like fuck, but it's not so much like the gun has caused that, it's like something else, but she's hidden it. You know, that's what I mean, like the idea of hiding something in your vagina.
Or in your arsehole. You know? It's like the desperation of it. And it's just like, it's grotty. You know? And I think it's great compared, like contrasting it with the original. The original, they get the hitchhiker and he's kind of like creepy as fuck. And they toss him out and he marks the van, and then it kind of feels as if it basically falls into them kind of trespassing on a house. And then it, like, they were, I love the original, but it definitely doesn't feel like there's a whole lot like of a plot there, whereas I feel like this changed.
I never felt, well, the one thing I will say with the original is I never felt like the characters were greatly built up at all. Like, I felt like we barely, even in the short amount of time of these ones, I feel like I've got a better sense, and this isn't me saying that I prefer them necessarily than as in from the original, as in like Sally from the original, things like that. Like, it's not that I prefer those things. I just think that generally the characters are built up a little bit like more clearly here, and we get a little bit more time to get to know them in certain situations than we do in the original, when, to be honest, they start getting separated and picked off one by one, like in a much different way. Whereas here we get a lot more of a different side of the family thing, which I think is one of the stronger elements 100%. Of this.
But I think that comes kind of from the point that I was making, where the original didn't feel like it had too much of a plot. It was very much like these people stumbling on this house, getting taken, and then the last act of it is pretty much survival. Sally trying to escape. This one, because you have, you know, the girl's suicide, and then you have like the fact that they've got a shit ton of like weed on them. You have this dynamic of like Morgan wants to fucking ditch her, wants to leave her. So does Andy. Erin and Kemper and Pepper are more like conflicted on it. So you have this thing of like, now they have a reason to wait for the sheriff. And it kind of has a bit more of that mystery of like, well, who is this sheriff? What is, like, how far does this thing go? So I feel like in terms
again,
of
in the original, it was very much, as far as we were aware in the original, we only mainly meet the family when it's full on fucked up, and then we learn the hitchhiker was part of that, and all that kind of element. We find that out kind of later, and that's all part of that amazing original like capture scene in the again, which a lot of those, there is a lot of the iconic scenes of the original that they don't recreate them here. They don't try to straight up remake, which a lot of people could have just done a straight up one. And a lot of that worked at the time because it was fresher, and because of that kind of major, like, there was a major push in the original of that psychological element of how fucked up Sally, of everything she's having to fucking go through, and the way the family acting around her, and the dead body, you know, the dead family, you know, there was a real fucked up element of what the hell is all this kind of crap, you know. And I'd almost say maybe even a lot more of the Ed Gein kind of was kind of embedded into some of that as well, to make it a real psychological kind of part. And this one does go a little bit more, as we said at the start, kind of has moments of that, but goes a little bit more into who are these family members, and how does that work in this? How is this all kind of a bit more covered up?
Yeah.
How have you got like a whole like outside one area that's literally full of cars? And how the hell are you all getting away with all of this kind of thing? And like kids going missing, stuff like that. Like how is this not being picked up on? And we find out that this one's come up with a good reason for why all of that, which I know that's more in the beginning.
Yeah.
I remember that one. I don't really remember the beginning that well though, even though I didn't watch it that long ago. I don't remember it that well. I remember just more not Lee. What is it?
Emery.
Yeah, it's just Arlie Emery, who's fucking amazing.
Yeah, that role suits him so well.
It does, yeah. I know it's his classic. He almost was typecast into the hard ass kind of guy,
drill sergeant chap.
But there's something about in this film about his kind of the way that he takes it to that next level.
Yeah,
of that kind of really fucked up. Some of the fucked up stuff that he says in this is like incredible. We'll get to him though in that part in a minute. Let's. So the shot here.
Oh, I was going to say the shot.
The shot.
Everybody talks about the shot.
The shot it's an incredible, like Marcus Dispel's direction here is an amazing shot that he's created here.
It was his directorial debut.
It was, yeah. So that's like it's pretty. I do think it's a pretty impressive looking film for what like obviously it is like, and I believe it has the cinematographer.
I'm not sure
of the original film.
I mean, I've got to fill air whilst you talk about
this. Yeah, go for
it. Because it is the very classic thing that comes up when people talk about this. I wasn't kind of aware that it was a controversial film or that there were kind of lots of people who didn't like it. As far as I was aware, it was one of those films that I've seen people online rave about. They've spoke about like how it's kind of a fresh take, how it is a bit of a modernisation, and it was a film that I watched when it first came out, and then I haven't watched it again for many years. I don't know why. It was just I always ended up watching the beginning for some reason, and I was just like, maybe I'll watch this.
Yeah.
But back to you.
It's Daniel Pearl, and he was the cinematographer on the original, and he was the cinematographer on this one. So that kind of plays out as well. Like he got that. Apparently, that's part of the reason that actually Marcus Dispel, as his directorial debut, but he was offered this, and then he was basically like I guess many other directors went, "No, that's blasphemy. You don't do that." And he himself was like, "No, that's thing." And then apparently it was the cinematographer Daniel Pearl who he'd already worked with on something previously because he also did like music video stuff.
Yeah.
He'd worked with him and he said, I think this would be amazing for us to do together. I'm already doing it. So I've already agreed to do it. So I'd like to kind of bookend my career with chainsaw films, basically, because it was one of Daniel Pearl's earlier, like his first. So he started his career with this. He was thinking, I'm going to end it, even though I think he then went on to make Friday the 13th with him, and I think he did those ones as well, which is again why that one's shot quite nicely. Yeah. Probably the nicest shot Friday the 13th film. But
it's not saying much.
It's not. Like that's not really their focus in that film series. But yeah, so that's kind of why Marcus did that one and decided that I'm going to give this a go, kind of thing. But no, the shot when she shoots herself, suddenly just pulls the gun and just fires it through her. Into her mouth, and then literally as we follow it through her mouth, out the back of her head, out the car, watching their reaction, and also the blood splatter all over, like the brain splatter onto the things like that.
So
Pepper, who like when she gets out and realizes her brains is like on her shoulder and she's like fucking freaking out and shit like that. But it's such a kind of it's such a from it pulling it out, the gun gives like a real like, oh fucking hell, what? And then going straight to that and following a shot through someone's brains is like it's an incredible shot. Like it's one thing, like even if there are parts that I understand why people don't like it, that is a great fucking scene and a great shot alone, like to set up, and there's just to set up the film is great. Yeah,
I think it works so well to also set the tone, like you have the opening, which does kind of mention how grisly it is, have those kind of foreshadowing to the events that are going to happen, but it feels like this is where you feel like it sets the tone for the gore level. Yeah, it is going to be quite full on.
Yeah, it's going to be much more, because obviously a lot in the original, although yes, there are obviously scenes that are graphic. quite a lot of them are like, you forget how much when you watch the original, how much of it is not actually really shown.
Yeah,
Kind of
you
things
think
like
it's
that.
worse than
Yeah.
it is.
Like in the wheelchair and stuff like that. Like you think you see someone get chainsaw and you don't. It's all mainly just cut. Mainly just like is like out of shot, or you can't actually see what's going on, kind of thing. And there's only one death in this that is mainly cut away.
Yeah.
From the ones which I forgot what happened with that one. But I love. But again, I like the way that this then takes. It does very much take its own path. You've got the kids, obviously. So what the fuck do we do with this body?
Yeah.
This leads us into the whole like you said before, the drugs, the having to get in touch with the sheriff. When's the sheriff come in?
I love Luda May as well, the mum.
Oh yeah.
I think she's great. You know?
Yeah,
she works as such a good balance to Hoyt.
Yeah.
And almost there's like I find that there's a lot of like humour with her.
Yeah,
like the bit
she's got this oddly loving, like this obviously over love and care in nature, as if she lets people like as if like it's a balancing act between like letting them. Like mothering them, she's the mothering type to the point where it becomes sinister.
Yeah, I got a bit. I had to Google this after, but I got really confused on the family tree. You know,
yeah.
So she is.
I assume there's a lot of incest.
There's definitely incest. You know, but I think. I think it's more for pleasure than necessity. You know, like I don't think they're doing it to further the line. I think they just love fucking each other.
Oh yeah, it's not like the McPoyle.
Yeah,
it's not like the
they're keeping it pure.
Yeah, keep it pure.
Yeah, I just don't think there's many people around. So she's Hoyt's mother.
Yeah,
and then Leatherface is her adoptive son, and the chap with no legs, Monty, is her brother. And I don't know.
But she does not look older.
She doesn't look older enough to be his son. And when he's calling her mama,
I mean, he must have been like 60s at least. Like 60s by this point.
So exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got really confused because when Hoyt calls Luda May mama, I was thinking he was doing it as a kind of like, you know, when you're young and your dad says, "Oh, go see mum," or your mum says, "Oh, what's dad doing?" You know, I thought she was doing that kind of thing. But apparently she is Hoyt's mother. So Hoyt is either, you know, she either had him really young, or Hoyt is like 35 and he's had a really tough life and he's been really beaten by that Texas sun. But I think Luda May is kind of like is a great character, and her introduction when they're at the the gas station, petrol station, should I say?
She was actually 14 years. She is actually 14 years older than Lee, so she could have been in Texas. That's obviously obvious. In Texas, 14. That's She definitely could have had him.
I don't know why you air quoted Texas.
Air quoted Texas
and not legal. You know,
like I was like, yeah, it's illegal.
Texas doesn't exist. Texas is a made-up.
Texas is the one that. I'm talking about in this version of Texas kind of thing. Like I'm not saying that Texas is just full of incest. I mean,
no,
of course, I can assume probably so.
I assume it's the forest.
It's a big state, and there's a lot of areas that have a lower population and a bigger population. Yeah. Those low populations questionable.
It's the Wales of of America, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's the Wales of America.
Going for that one.
You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to it. When the introduction of Luda May is great, and when she's like, go and meet the sheriff at the old mill, and there's all the flies crawling over the meat, and then we're introduced to the boy.
Yeah.
I was going to say the deformed boy, but I don't know if he is deformed. The odd boy, and he's got really, really sparkling white teeth. I don't actually like the inclusion of the boy. I'll put that out there. This is one bit of the story that I'm really not a fan of. I also don't get how he comes into it. I don't know if Hoyt's been fucking, if Leatherface has been slamming puss, if he's been taken because there's the baby that is taken from somebody else later. If he's that thin woman's bit in
Jedediah.
Jedediah.
I was trying to work out which one it was, but he's higher up the cast list than the others.
Yeah.
Jedediah.
So I don't know how he fits into it.
Well, I don't know in terms of family tree, but in terms of plot, he's a plot device here.
He is a plot device.
Basically to help the Erin have an actual chance of surviving. Basically, that Erin's actually nice to him So he's like that special kid who's like, she's nice to me
She's nice
so
to
I'm going to betray my whole family who will probably kill me for this.
Yes.
That's probably why you never see Jedediah again, because Jedediah's dying.
Yeah, and she kills all his family.
Yeah.
So he's probably dead.
Well,
Doesn't know how to eat anything other than human flesh.
I'm sure there's plenty of dogs around.
But then he's so small.
Meat.
A dog could probably kill him. Dogs would probably tear him apart. But yes,
you're gonna make a spin-off of the Texas Chainsaw remake. Basically, it's just Jedediah versus a dog.
Jedediah versus a dog. Yeah. But this is where we're after this part. When they go and they go to the old mill to meet Sheriff Hoyt, and they take the vote on
even though Erin rings and they say that a sheriff would be about half an hour away or more, kind of thing. It's not the same.
No,
you're like, is this a different from out of state kind of sheriff, or is this sheriff? Is he even actually a sheriff kind of thing, or is he just wearing a costume?
But I think we'll get to Hoyt when we get to his introduction. But we follow Erin and Kemper as they go to the house.
Yeah.
And compare it to the original house. It does have this kind of dilapidated plantation vibe to it. It's much bigger and grander. But I guess the horror of the original was that from the outside, the house kind of looked alright. If you can ignore the wind chimes made out of bones, the house doesn't really look too creepy. But it's when you go inside and you get behind the fucked up door, things really start to go up. Whereas this one, it does have the appearance of hard times,
Yeah,
it's
really
got
run
peeling
down,
rain,
broken
paint,
boards,
and then we're introduced to Monty in his wheelchair, and straight away you're thinking they scranned his fucking legs.
Yeah,
they took those things. They took them. Maybe took his dick as well.
Yeah, Leatherface has been cutting him off.
Leatherface has been cutting it off.
Yeah, which definitely seems like.
Definitely seems likely.
So you've got that set. I mean, obviously we get the whole we get a very similar kind of with the original, as if one waits outside.
Yeah.
Kemper's not allowed to come inside from Monty. He's like, ain't going to my house. And she's there obviously to try and get some help, for what's going on, including then we get things like Monty going to the toilet and we have him to sit there's a nice scene with a catheter or whatever he's got going on. Burst. Yeah, him on the floor, help me up here kind of thing. Which is all kind of used as a kind of, what is this guy up to?
Yeah. Little ploy to get her in. And I really like the shots of the peephole, moving and following them as they go around. The slight shots of Leatherface looking through.
Yeah.
And the whole scene is great. It has that kind of.
This is the closest to the original in terms of using a death, though, isn't it?
It's kind of
close. We get a very similar-ish kind of death in the original of the kind of smashing over the back of the head, dragged into the door kind of thing.
Yes,
but it's a bit closer in the original kind of thing. But this one works as well because obviously we've got more of a bit of a build up with some of the fucked up rooms and stuff like that. Here, it's more of a build up of what is the family up to.
Yeah. Whereas
in the original, it's pretty kind of more empty. It's not as clear about anything that's going on. She's no one's around. What's going on? And that's when we get Leatherface pop out and kind of bash the guy over the head with a hammer and literally drags him as he's fucking. Remember in the original, he's fucking. One of the things that adds to it is the original. One of the things that adds to it is the fact that he's fucking spasming fucking crazy as he drags him through the door kind of thing.
And I think there's also just something about about that big metal door that it looks so sinister. And I think that at one point it's open and then it closes at one point, and it's not made. There's no kind of fuss made about it. But then when Glasses guy goes in the original, I can't remember his name. It's probably Bob.
Is the boyfriend in the original as well? Isn't it? Bob's the boyfriend in the original, I think. I think it's the boyfriend in both that gets, or at least the love interest. Of the love interest.
All I remember is that the kind of the grate as that shutters opened, and then the smack on the head and the spasming of his legs.
This isn't as effective as the same way in the original, but it does have its kind of a fun kind of build up because you've got him kind of looking around and searching and as he gets down on the ground to
But here I think they do something different where they don't make the entrance to the basement stand out so much.
No.
You know, it does kind of blend in a bit more. The walls are all dirty and this door kind of blends in. So I feel like it's a bit more hidden in this one.
But I think the thing that also it's because Kemper is built up as one of the 5 kind of characters you've got here. Yeah. Kemper's got a bit more of a backstory and a bit more of a link to Erin and stuff like that. So it gives you a little bit, again, the characterization I think helps a little bit more to shadow who's going first here.
Yeah.
Like, Kemper doesn't seem like the obvious one going first because it seems like there's a lot more story to tell between him and Erin. And it's silly, like, it's just gone kind of thing. So I think that's what works quite nicely here is the fact that because of Erin and stuff like that, it seems like, although we're like, well, in the original, this is like the first death.
Yeah.
Here you're thinking, oh, well, Kemper seems less likely to go. I think for a first-time viewer, they'd be like, it's not going to be him because they're kind of the duo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're the partnership that might last longer kind of thing. It's a Texas Chainsaw film, so it's not like they're going to last longer, but it's like they're not that likely. As you said, someone more like Andy seems, or Pepper seems more like the obvious first kill.
Well, it's Andy, you know. Yeah. He's got the vest, he's got the long blonde hair. Yeah. You know, he's called Andy.
Which is why I think Kemper and Erin have got a little bit more of the focus in this first part of the film, which is good because then you do get to know the other two, not necessarily their history better, but you get to kind of see them as characters more with the sheriff. You get to see a bit more of that play out. So again, every character gets a little bit more development before they're taken out, instead of just being a basic character that's wiped out, which is the only thing I can say. Like, the original makes up for it because it is all just a question mark, because it was so original and so different. It wasn't so much about like so much the characters of getting to know them that much, because we can even say that in terms of Final Girls, although she's excellent for the part she does, I can't say I necessarily know that much about her in the original film. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's also comparing, like, the original was it was like an independent film.
Yeah,
there was a lot of like issues and a lot of dodginess around the funding of it, and it was made to be a bit more like shocking and. It was a bit looser with it. Yeah. Whereas, you know, 30 years later, you're approaching like an iconic film that's spawned a franchise.
Yeah.
So you've got to approach it differently, and you've got to kind of take that, and you've got more stuff there. And I think
and you're taking the elements that you think are what are the things I can build on that maybe weren't there.
Yeah.
Because I am trying to tell a different kind of story here. There's a little bit more of a, I guess there's a bit more of a straightforwardness in some ways, not in terms of the fucked up visuals and stuff like that of the original kind of thing, and the way it kind of messes with you without dialogue at times and stuff like that. That's the more kind of rustic approach taken with the original that works so well. Here it's like, well, we're not going to be able to do that because that's too obvious and too expected, and we can't just recreate scenes. So instead, we're going to fuck with them in a different way of the kind of the rawness that we're going to give them, kind of thing.
Yeah,
they're going raw,
and they're going in raw. And I think the introduction of Sheriff Hoyt it's great. You know, in the original, we have the cook, and I think he is great.
Yeah,
but you very much only really get him at the end, and he does kind of come off as a bit of like a domineering patriarch. But it feels like in this one he's so much fleshed out. They've got the spirit of the character. Almost.
This makes sense. How this whole thing has worked makes sense because of Hoyt. Like straight away you're like, right, I can get it, because that guy alone would be enough to bring fear into people and for people not to question him, and you can tell this guy would just kill you if you did anything around. That's why they're on edge the second he comes out, and it's not necessarily just because of him. One, because he looks like an intimidating bastard anyway.
Yeah.
But it's also just because straight away he's just taking no shit from them, kind of thing. Like,
and you've got to think, like, you're in a situation where there's a dead woman in the back of your car.
They've got no like nothing to stand on here as
weed,
well.
You know, like you haven't got a leg to stand on, like you said. Yeah. So already you're like, fuck, they've got to think we killed this woman.
Yeah.
They've got to think we killed her.
And it's the fact that he comes in straight away, basically with that exact, like you can see from the way he is acting around them straight away. And again, obviously at this point you don't necessarily know who he is or what his relation is. He just seems to be a kind of, I guess what you'd kind of go with like a hick, kind of like a hick sheriff from a small area, you know, who's doing this stuff, and straight away is just basically coming out to them, assuming, well, you guys are, he's like a corrupt cop. You get that feeling straight away, but at the same time, you're also like, well, he's just coming out like, well, to be fair, I think if most police walked into that place, they'd be like, well, what the fuck did you guys do to him?
Yeah, and
like,
you got to think this is the
70s. Yeah.
This is the 70s, so
yeah.
a cop in the 70s, like...
In the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of rural Texas. They're probably going to be...
They're a law on their own.
Yeah, they're law on their own.
Who the fuck's going to come out here and check?
Yeah.
I can fucking... I can't... The amount of things like that you just wonder, like, there are so many missing people kind of thing in America alone, but, like, especially in some of those parts when it's like, there's nothing... Like, this is why people say about, like, how comes there's not more of these cases in Britain of, like, people you haven't solved? Well, because we have, especially in this modern day, we are like Big Brother everywhere.
Yeah.
There are cameras, there are things, there are constant checks, stuff like that. But still to this day, in parts of fucking, like, Texas and things like that, I know, like, DNA does help and stuff like that, but there are still fucking tons of people that just disappear off the face of the earth.
I mean, Sarah Everett a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Police officer just kind of, like, detained her and killed her. So it's
just like I can't bother to do the paperwork today. Fucking kill him out the back.
Yeah, and it's so like this person comes in and straight away you have a thing of these characters are young, so there's got to be authority. They've got to be like, all right, we're in a bad situation. We need to do what this guy says. I've never watched the trailer for this film, and I wonder whether the trailer gives away the twist regarding Hoyt. Because if you watch it for the first time and you don't know, I would imagine when he first appears, you might be like...
I vaguely remember one version of it, which was definitely much more focused on, like, more of one of those ones where it gives you, like, ideas of scenes and it tells you about the history, the iconic kind of thing. It gives you flashes of people screaming in Leatherface and stuff like that. But I don't remember it really, like... But again, I don't remember if there's like because you get that kind of trailer, then sometimes you get one that's more a story-based trailer.
Yeah, you do.
And that's the one that sometimes fucks you over. Like, the vague teaser ones are normally alright, but nowadays a teaser is like a 3-minute trailer.
Yeah.
That gives away the whole film. And then the final trailer, by the final trailer nowadays, you've got to like... So
I've seen
I know the fucking... Like, I know every fucking twist in this film kind of thing.
I can just imagine.
Like, I can see what's happening. I can work out... That's obviously from the start of the film. That's the middle. That's the end of the film. Yeah, that's what's happened in this film kind of thing. But hopefully, back then it was still a little bit vague.
And I'm not suggesting that people... This, like, Arlie Emery appearing, people will be like, oh my God. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's a good guy. He's got to save them from Leatherface. But whether there would have been like a bit more of a suspicion, whether they would have been like, oh, maybe he's got to be.
You're thinking this. I think you're probably thinking.
Probably.
When you see him, you're like,
as soon as he touches a dead girl's tit, you've got to be like, all right. I think
getting a little, It's that stuff that I think like one like him playing the kind of hard ass is exactly what you expect from that from him as an actor.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He was class rip.
Yeah, him being as like in Full Metal Jacket and things like that, he's fucking amazing.
Yeah,
if you've seen that film, but like he is in many of his roles, but he's iconic for almost exactly that person.
Yeah,
for being basically the cop, colonel, whatever, hard ass kind of. I will fucking put you in your place, motherfucker.
Hard ass, crazy eyebrows.
Yeah, so he's no very so. The police at that angle is not what makes this kind of good. It's actually in the dialogue that they give him here. The stings like that, like the way he makes them feel so fucking like both guilty, like they're almost going to admit to it because they're like, well, I'm not. You don't even need to admit to it actually because I'm basically saying all the stuff like you guys have got up to some shit here, haven't you?
Yeah.
This girl, the way he talks about her being like wet between the legs, like that, like,
and they had some fun with her.
Yeah, like you got to enjoy getting a little like back in the day. These honeys I used to enjoy getting a little squeeze, a little bit of tit basically
before they got cold.
All the way to get a bit of saran wrap. Let's wrap this bitch up, kind of thing. Like it's like fucking hell.
And this is where like there were moments of dark humor in the original, and I feel like the dark humor comes in with him. You know, where he's like. They wrap her in cling film, and he makes her like touch the head and the brain, and then they put him in they go to put him in the boot.
Don't put her in my fucking.
Don't put her in my fucking boot. It's a dead body.
Yeah.
Put it in the trunk.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's some like dark humour there.
Yeah.
And his delivery.
And there's the
is
way
so
they're
good.
acting as if this is going to be a normal kind of officer in a normal style of the law kind of thing. So like, what does it matter? Because this is a dead body. You should be showing respect to me. And he's like, I don't give a fuck. It's fucking that's roadkill to me. Basically, this fucking, it's that element that I think makes the character is that like the fact that he is this odd dark humour of the film. That's kind of a great part. Obviously, so we get Campus, like, Leatherface pops us out, smashes him on the back of the head, drags him out into the kind of room. We don't get what we do get with him is, and one of the things I do like is that we get with after his kill, is we don't get to see, like, so much the aftermath like we do with Andy, where we get more of it. But what we do get to see is the crafting of Leatherface in this for a little bit here. You get to see some of that. I would have liked almost a bit more of it, to be honest, but you get to see some of those scenes of him like cutting, sawing parts, like moving that. You see parts of the head, you see the skin being taken off, you see him sewing something kind of thing. We get some of those elements of...
And you see his rotten fucking basement.
Yeah, and because you get him like hosing stuff off, and that's when we see the ring falls in the middle, so you got a bit of a like, oh fuck. Like,
fuck, he was going to do
like, he was actually going to do it. He'd got her a big ass blood diamond there.
Yeah. He got her a blood diamond.
Yeah.
It's the 70s, it's fine. Well, the bit where kind of we see Leatherface properly is when, they realise that Kemper's missing, so Erin and Andy go to look. Andy takes his trusty tire iron, decent weapon, and Erin distracts Monty with like, you got a lovely garden here. How long can you keep that conversation going?
There's elements of this bit of this scene which reminds me of the game, the TCM game, where you've got to do like work together, go distract them while you work around this way. Like busy. You keep getting chased around while you go do something else. Like there's that element in there that I was like, But reminds me of the game.
The introduction of Leatherface, where they're backed up against it, and Monty's kind of cornered them, and he's banging his walking stick on the floor,
and we go down,
and we see the dust falling. And then he pulls it open. You hear the chainsaw. It's great. And the one thing I do like is the original. You can tell it probably wasn't called Texas Chainsaw Massacre at first.
Yeah.
And then when they had the chainsaw, they were like, we should call it that.
Yeah.
Whereas this one does live up to being a chainsaw massacre. Leatherface is more predominant with the chainsaw, and that initial scene where he chases Andy through the white sheets and
that's
cuts his leg.
Class.
It's great.
When the blood splats against it, it's such a this is one of the things I do like that. Again, like some of those quick scenes, like I said, of Leatherface. That scene when it cuts down. Obviously, the head scene, the blown out of the head scene we saw earlier. This shot for the thing. I think there's some of this, like I said, Daniel Pearl's cinematography, but also Marcus Nispel's direction here. I think it has some class shots in here. Some really good looking shots that are like that. Like using that kind of bed sheet one, like is a really cool. Which is odd because I feel like no one's doing clean white laundry in that fucking house. But like that's one plot hole I would say is who the fuck did nice and pearly white sheets here?
It's like the one.
I can't get my sheets that clean. I'll at least trying to wash stuff. No one in that house looked like. Fucking Monty's got a vest that looks fucking like he's like I don't know, whacked all over it a million times. And like, it looks dirty as fuck.
It's like
everyone looks dirty as fuck. And suddenly they've got the most beautiful pure white sheets.
The one day
beautiful blood to splat. Sheets, the one day we wash our sheets fucking every year. Starts the shit out of them, and then suddenly here comes the fucking blood massacre. That's why Leatherface is pissed off. It was laundry.
It was laundry. And kind of going on to Leatherface, who is played by Andrew Bryanarski, I believe that's how you pronounce it, who goes on to play Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. I like the physicality that he brings to Leatherface. I like the what was the first guy's name? Gunnar
Hansen.
Gunnar Hansen, maybe.
Is it Hansen? I think it's Gunnar.
I'm pretty sure it's Gunnar. I can't remember right now off the top of my head, but I liked his portrayal is great. But I feel like Andrew Bryanarski has this big kind of hulkingness to it.
Yeah, Gunnar Hansen.
Yeah. And it feels...
I never remember those names. I remember the actors' names quite often, but I never remember the people who played them behind. So I'm proud of myself for that one.
I usually do.
You normally know like this.
I know
your
Hansen.
Favorite like.
Yeah. When I was watching it, I was like, I like him, but it's different to Gunnar Hansen.
Yeah.
I get on record. I get on the mic and I bottle it.
Yeah.
I like the kind of the appearance of him. I like that he's got this mask which is like so rotted and so old that it's like grey and mottled. And I like that he's quite he's quite stocky.
He is quite a stocky lad.
A lot of the other Leatherfaces, they were bigger, but they didn't feel quite as muscular, and like presence wise, they don't think they were as big.
But looking at his mama, he looks like he suits it much better.
Yeah,
with who his mama's meant to be. Obviously. Yeah. Like, I think he looks I think he looks more kind of like that kind of odd farm boyish kind of look. But I really like the mask in this one.
I like the mask.
I think it looks very effective. Like, it looks scary. Yeah. I think like and it's not to take away obviously from the original, which has its old kind of the way it looks like this weird kind of mishmash and very much 70s in its style. This one looks maybe a bit more modern than what it technically would be, because it's meant to be the 70s, I guess. But it does look like this long, like flesh that has been long leathered.
It looks leathered.
Yeah, like it's been like sunned out for a long time, like an old baseball kind of
looks
thing.
like he's fucking worn it for a long time. Yeah, and I like how he does it. However, I don't really feel like I like Leatherface too much in this film. I feel like he is, ironically enough, the weakest part of the film for me.
Well, I feel like he's not very much front and centre at all, apart from being just a grunting kind of chasing after person. Whereas, that I'll admit that's like we also get a shot of Leatherface who's
without
deformed,
and he kind of has that. He looks a bit like Howard.
He's not deformed in the is he? He's
well,
not
in the
original, really.
In the original, this is where I feel like in the original, you don't know whether he's deformed. They don't really necessarily make any.
Do we get a shot? I thought we got some kind of a shot in the original, where he's in the window and you see something like you think is the figure of him, kind of thing, without a mask on. But
no, you just see him. You see him like having these very weird moments where you get the idea that it's like a child in this Hulk's body. Yeah. Like you have like the points where he's like. He like runs into a room after Kirk, that's the guy's name. After he fucking whomps Kirk on the head and drags him back, he runs into a room and he starts like freaking out and howling because I think he knows how much he's fucked up. And you get the impression that he's like he's very bullied and he's kind of like picked on and set. He's like a dog, and he's set loose by the cook.
Yeah.
That's the impression you get in the original. In the beginning, the prequel, Andrew Bryanarski takes on the role again, and they lead into him being a bit more of like this hulking, menacing figure. But they do have like the deformity and the fact that he was like he's got like weird face coverings, but he hasn't quite yet got to making a mask, and that he was like bullied.
Well, he's missing his nose.
He's missing his nose. Yeah. Whereas this one, he like. I feel like he looks great, and I like the way in which he's played. But it feels like he is a lot more like bland.
Of a silent, he is kind of a silent hulking kind of. Like, to be fair, this is one of the things that I would say is like in the original film, obviously, because obviously one thing that does help with the characterization of Leatherface outside of the grunting and moaning and things like that is you get to see the dynamic of him with the actual family in the original, and how he is like the lowest form of life compared to the rest of them in many ways. Like, he is like their little dog on a lead kind of thing. Whereas here we get a little bit more of like he's a bit more respected and a bit more kind of the scary figure in the basement kind of thing.
Well, they talk about him like there's the when there's talking about him being a bad man, the hitchhiker in this one, I'm not sure whether they're on about Leatherface or Hoyt, but they do say like Luda May says, he's a sweet boy, and she calls him a sweet boy a couple of times. And then later when Erin escapes and she goes to that fucking trailer, caravan as we would call it, and he meets the big lass and the really skinny lass. They're like, he's a really like gentle, sensitive boy. Like he doesn't mean anything by it. Like the kids were picking on him. So other characters talk about him, but you don't get, because they
get it from him.
They forego the the dinner scene, which is iconic. They do that in the prequel. They do like a little bit of it, and it's great in that one. But in this one, you don't really see him to interact too much with the other characters.
No.
He is a lot more like in the basement. He's a lot more like fucking plonk on the floor and get him up.
Yeah.
This
is what I was thinking was, this is actually something that I could say is one of the problems with actually the remakes.
Okay.
And with Platinum Dunes generally, I think when you track a lot of the ones with the iconic monsters and stuff like that they've used, it's the one area I think that actually their characterization is not always that good, and they're not always. It's the one thing I think they always fumbled, was they made the other characters actually more interesting.
Yeah.
Not saying better. I'm just saying they're more fleshed out. There's more of a story. There's more of a thing, and I can say that with Marcus Nispel's Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
There's more characters there. We tell things in different ways. We kind of link together plots of the first, second, and third film, and it kind of works. And it also still has its own main cast of characters, but we also get a couple of time periods of different deaths and stuff like that. And it's not that even in that Jason isn't this badass hulking kind of Jason that you'd want him to be. But a lot of the characterization, I think a lot of like the backstory of Jason's kind of like very quickly like glossed over.
Yeah.
He's mainly there. You've got the kind of shit stuff like the hemp farmer kind of stuff that's thrown in there, which is one of the weaker parts of like trying to change the lore of Jason, and generally makes Jason mainly just this hulking figure with not much else to him. Now, I'm not saying that Jason is a little bit closer to that, but this is almost a bit more. Leatherface here is a bit more like a Jason than he is a Leatherface. Whereas Leatherface had more to him, I'd say, than Jason, who is a bit more of a hulking figure. And that can be said across other ones. Like, again, they had a really great idea for Freddy in their version, but they still kind of, and that's not to say I've not got so much of a problem with the performance in that film as the way that they kind of fucked with the visuals of it, kind of is what fucked up there. But they had a really cool idea, but they didn't dig into it enough that it kind of then collapsed on itself a little bit with that one. Like, a lot of these ones is like, I think they've almost like taken it like, well, that's the iconic creature, so as long as we just show him, we're fine.
People will be happy. Yeah.
So let's focus on like the story, which is not a bad thing that they've tried to come up with interesting, more complex stories in some ways. And I'd also point to Nightmare on Elm Street, where they actually came up with an interesting insight into Freddy and how that really could have played out. Yeah. But they kind of, sadly, it was kind of cut down, I think, by people in that process. But here, I think, again, like, I agree with you that I think that Leatherface is pretty a bland kind of just figure.
And
he's the guy with the chainsaw here is the only thing that's lost here.
Yeah.
Whereas the psychosis of the fucked upness of the family in the original also played into the fact that Leatherface was this weird, like, childlike figure, just screaming and fucked up, and you get that in even some of the sequels of Texas Chainsaw. That Leatherface is very much this really fucked up, unsure of itself, identity, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Sadly, a lot of that kind of stuff is lost and replaced, which is why I didn't like the shot of him deformed.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the deformity thing is their quick way of being like, so this is why he wears a mask, and I feel like that's a very poor simplification of what this character is.
Yeah,
for long-term Leatherface fans, I think.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I just feel like I wish that he had a bit more character, because I like the portrayal, and I like the added size and that, and I like the look of him. But I just kind of wish that there was a bit more character.
It's more just making him a monster for their film than thinking about him as a character. I think is the problem.
That's it. But the bit where he takes Andy down to the basement, and the basement's fucking bogging and all water flooded, and like there's like that
bones everywhere.
Yeah, there's one corpse which is so fucking
fingers that are just pinned along, like really fucked up. Like this scene, I think is really I think this is a scene that really is one of the ones like the van scene at the beginning that gets to me like a lot more, because just the idea he gets fucking put on the hook, which is fucking horrible. But it's also the pain levels of stuff like that. Like
it's the salt on the stump
this fucking stump, the way he is screaming, the way you really get to.
And then he stitches the paper into his stump, and
I think you really feel for the character here. Like, I'm not saying we necessarily get to know Andy much more than, but the scene, I think, with the sheriff is what kind of helped to cement that these guys are at least working together, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you get a little bit more of a thing of he's a bit more of he's stepping forward, like he's not like hiding away from it. Like when he goes to the house with her, like we've got a little bit of a sense of at least like he's willing to risk himself when there's something really fucked up going on here.
Yeah, and I think it also.
So you feel sorry for him when he's stepped forward to help Kemper, and like now he's like in this position of fucking that no one would want to be in, where you've got fucking hook through your spine and fucked,
no leg with salt on as well.
Yeah.
You know, like come on. But yeah, and then going back to where Hoyt discovers the cannabis, and he's like, switch. You know, he's like, you were behind this, you were behind it. Show me how how she fucking did it. Reenacting, he makes Morgan go and put the gun in his mouth. It's really good, and you know that it's not loaded. You know, this is the thing that I get with Hoyt. He's such a fucking prick. And he's so. I think we might have done a characters I wanted to die. Well. I feel like we spoke about him in maybe like a characters we wanted to die one a long time ago, and I mentioned him. Because every time I watch this film, I'm like, I want you to fucking die. And every time I watch the prequel, he's even worse. I'm thinking, I just want you to get fucking battered. And this whole film where this whole bit where he's like, oh, you're not afraid of a little bit of fucking brain. Scoot over. Oh, this is where she was. Oh, put the gun next to you. Oh, I don't think it was under the chin. I don't know where it fucking came from. It was in the mouth, and then he aims the gun at Hoyt.
And this is the part that plays a bit more into the brutality and the psychological nature is more brought out in this part than it is on like the table scene, like in the original and stuff like that, which is the major kind of one people point out as the psycho fucking with your brain kind of thing. Like these are the kind of scenes that feel like, and which is why you feel for the characters, because you're like, they are going through a fucking ringer here so far already. This is like really fucking fucked up. Morgan's getting fucking bashed about, like, and he's like the stoner guy, but also he's got a weird innocence to him that you feel really sorry for him. He feels almost like the weakest of the pack in a way, you know what I mean? But he feels like and you're like, fucking hell, like when he's got that, and you've got a kind of bit with the choking on the gun, and a slight crunching of a teeth as well. It kind of in the sound effects is fucking nasty.
And Hoyt smashes the bottle into his mouth and knocks one of his teeth out, like.
And you get all of that stuff. You get like the teeth. You see a tooth, like that kind of dirty, bloody griminess of it all is also what just adds to it in this van that is splattered in brains.
Yeah, and then the part where Erin and Pepper start to hotwire the car. And then we see Leatherface. That's great.
This is the one that's the closest to like the obvious, when obviously they're trying to like get away, and he starts attacking the van, or is it the van or it's the van, isn't it?
It's the camper van.
Because this is where it gets like cut into kind of thing from the opening, which we get like I said about the Mad Magazine bits where you can see where it's been cut into because it was Leatherface who's cut into the van, that kind of thing. And this is the one we get the closest, where it's kind of the closest to that kind of. Is it the original? Is it Morgan? In the original, what's his name? Like, I can't remember. The wheelchair guy. Franklin. Sorry. When they're out in the like when they kind of, because that's very dark, set at night, like where kind of he comes after them, chasing through them, kind of thing, and then manages to get them because they can't get away. And this is the only one I find of oddly disappointing of the deaths, because but we both watched the unrated version. So I thought, there's no way any of the deaths are going to be like not. And I remember when I was watching, I was like, I can't remember how she died. Like, I pretty much remembered everyone's death except for hers, and I know why now, because it just like, it's not there's a lot of like really good build up with them being attacked and them trying to survive out of the van and when they're running and stuff like that. But when she just ends up getting shit and then just kind of goes down, and then you just see not even blood, it's kind of looks like almost like haze going in the air,
straw
like around,
kicking
like
out,
straw coming around it kind of thing. So there's not even like that kind of blood. It's not so much that I'm like, oh, that's disappointing that someone died off screen with this one. It just, I don't know, it just felt like it came to such a quick, like, sudden, like, it's more about the reaction of Erin watching her die, I think, is obviously what we're meant to be taking from this.
Well, I think that it's not that. I think it's the setup for the reveal of the Kemper mask. Because when Leatherface attacks...
Oh, of course, yeah, it's the setup for the...
Yeah, when Leatherface attacks, we don't see Leatherface's face. So when he pushes her down, we see sparks, we see hay, we see shadows, and then Erin flicks she flicks the engine round, and it kind of fires to life. The lights go on, and then Leatherface turns around, and that's the reveal of the Kemper's face. And so I feel like
it's the fucked upness of the body, like she's seen someone like friendish, I guess, but just like she only met like a day ago.
I met you yesterday.
I met like 2 days ago.
And all you did was raw dog Andy in the back
non-stop
of a 1970s camper van.
All you did was make my possible fiance hard the entire journey all the way back.
You made that place fucking stink of puss
sweat
and like 70s puss as well, 70s weed. That I'm surprised they didn't fucking die in there.
Yeah,
it's
but still sounded butchered.
Yeah, but still rip pepper.
But yeah, so there's the fucked up that she, like, again, because it's the first, like, as a death that she witnesses, isn't it? Kind of thing. She doesn't witness the other ones.
No.
So she witnesses it and she just is stuck there, like, watching it kind of happen. And then, you're right, the camper bit is
it's the payoff.
It's a cool reveal. I remembered thinking about it, thinking, I feel like this looks fucking stupid, but it actually looked better than I thought it did.
Yeah.
The mask actually, it's fairly, like, for the actor, I mean.
Yeah,
it actually is a pretty quality old mask kind of thing. It looks kind of like that oddly like stretched out face, but it kind of works.
And I feel like it has to be revealed to us at the same time as Erin, so we get it. Because if we'd have seen it before, I don't feel like it would have had that impact.
Yeah.
The mask reveal in the prequel,
although he doesn't keep that mask on for.
No,
it's not like it's a bit of an odd, like, where we've got that as a reveal and then we don't really have that mask stick around for very long, which isn't normally. Leatherface normally kind of changes into a mask and then that's my mask now.
It's probably like a pair of shoes. You know, like you got to break it in.
Yeah, I've worn it for a little bit. I need to wear it more. Like I wear the Kemper mask for a couple of months.
Like once, Anna brought a new pair of trainers. Before we went to London,
made out of human skin.
And I told her don't wear them because we're going to be doing like 15,000 steps a day. New trainers. She wore them. It was terrible. Fucked her feet. And the shoes were pretty bad as well. But it's like that. He wears it. It chafes. So Hoyt's like, do it for like an hour. And then put your old one.
Chafes my non-nose.
Chafes my non-nose.
Yeah.
My diseased face. But it's great, I feel like it's good. And then she runs into who Wikipedia have called Tea Lady, but who the prequel called Henrietta. Oh. And I'm not going to call her the big lady because we're going to be body positive, at least for this episode.
Yeah.
And we probably have a bad history, and we probably will have a bad future with it. But we're going to call her Henrietta for this. Henrietta and the woman who looks like a crackhead, for lack of a better word. She stumbles in there, and I never know what I feel about this one because it's strangely enough that I like Judah, Leda May, Leda Ma, whatever her name is.
Yeah, Leda May.
I really like her being in it. But and I really like Monty because Monty feels like kind of like a bit of a natural character. Yeah. The only ones that I don't like are Jedediah, Henrietta, and the other woman because I feel like they're just there, and it's not. You don't really get a feeling of how they're involved, how they're in it. Are they just kind of like
they're just family members, aren't they? They're just part of the community, I guess, of what we get to see.
But are they community? Are they family? We know that like one of them takes a baby from someone.
I assume that, I think they're meant to be the insight into. I'm not sure if they are family. I think they're meant to be the insight into
the normality,
like of what the rest of the community is like towards this family, because that family basically helps them other people in the community to do the same kind of shit, basically.
Maybe.
Or they could be family and that's why they've got that kind of thing. I don't know exactly, but it feels like they're trying to be like, because they talk about him like, oh, he's such a nice boy. You know? I feel like they're talking about him like they know
him, obviously.
They know him, but they have an idea of what's going on kind of thing, and this is what the whole kind of town or whatever, you know, that we're talking about is up to, is like everyone knows what happened and they just get on with it. Kind of thing, they go along with it. I think it's meant to be our insight into that, like the wider community. What do they think about it? And it sounds like they're all kind of corruptly in on it, kind of thing. Well,
she has Henrietta has a great scene in the prequel where she goes over and she's actually talking to Leda May. And is it? I keep calling her. Yeah, it is Leda May. Where they keep they have like this conversation that like ladies would have whilst they're having tea, and somebody's tied under the table rocking it, and it's great. But I'm just like, I want to know how they're involved. Because I feel like they fleshed out the family so much. It's ironic because the original Texas Chainsaw, I feel like, really fleshes out Leatherface, and it gives us enough about the family that we put the pieces together. Whereas this one fleshes out the family so much that when we get some more people, we're like, wow. What do they do? I want to know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I will admit that this bit following that, this is the bit when it kind of, we go from like place to place to place. This is the bit I think is the kind of a little bit of the pace killer.
Yeah.
This bit, like going into there, finding out about that she works out as child. Obviously, she gets drugged, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like those bits, like it's a little bit of the part where it was the most, like where my attention dips the most.
Definitely.
Upon rewatch was this bit where I was like, okay, so when are we getting to, when are we getting to the kind of the build up here? So this is, she gets drugged and she's like, whose baby is that? Yeah. Like, that's not your baby, kind of thing. Working out that it's been stolen from someone else. Yeah, whether that's meant to be an intention of like, it's not the girl that, unless that girl has escaped and been like used for ages, I don't know. Yeah, not the girl thing, because I always thought like, the blood down the legs might be because she gave birth, but I was like, that baby isn't. That's not a new baby. That baby is. That baby is like, well along. So unless they've kept her for, I don't know, tit milk for like a year. Maybe. But so that was the only thing I was like, I always wondered about in the van, like, is it because she's that? But I would have imagined they would have cleaned her legs from at some point, so cleaned her up.
Well, Morgan's in a bathtub when she finds him, so
yeah, that's true.
But then that water doesn't look particularly clean.
No.
So swings and roundabouts,
Yeah.
But there's a great scene where Morgan is knocked out, and we see Hoyt and Luna May's ironing his trousers.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean about the kind of the dark humour in there. They're going about like their everyday life, and I think she's saying to him like, "Oh, you think you're such a big hotshot in that uniform, but I'm ironing your pants."
Yeah.
And it's so good.
Yeah, I like those parts. Mainly this is then to the actual being in the basement.
Yeah, because she finds Andy and put him out of his misery, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's full on thing, and there's a part of you that's like, come on, guy, get off, like, survive. But it's through his spine, so he's not walking anywhere. He's not going.
He's got one leg. So
he's also got one leg, so he ain't hopping anywhere. No. But and he like, and I think it's a good scene because it is a heartbreaking kind of like this girl who's basically never had any of this shit happen to her in her life, and she's seen people die now. She's aware her fiance possibly is fucking dead and skinny. Like she's already gone through some proper shit, and now she's got to take someone else's life, a friend's life. Yeah, like it puts her through a fucking ringer. It is one thing to say, what I was thinking about before. I was thinking about the 2022 Texas Chainsaw, which I wasn't a massive fan of.
Which we did cover.
We did cover, yes, we did. Which is around the time we covered the original film. Yes. So yes. And we did cover that one, and there were parts of it that I kind of liked. But I remember one thing that was our main kind of like thorn in the paw kind of thing about it for me is the fact that as much as I love the original film, Sally is not developed enough to be what?
Yeah. Well, I'm laughing at thorn in the paw because that's great. It's so out of the blue. It's really not taking me for sense.
You are.
Yeah, but it's also then I love the idea that Laurie Strode came back as this kind of like grey-haired, wizened survivor, and they're like, "Oh, bring back Sally." Yeah. And she's just.
There's
so
just
bad.
The problem is,
gets
and
bodied
this is my thing.
As soon as she turns up.
Oh yeah, well that's the other thing is just fucking disrespect. But it's also just the fact that generally we watch her go through some shit, and I know you could probably say similarly about Laurie, but I still feel like we get a better sense of Laurie than we do of Sally here, kind of thing, because it goes to that.
100%.
We don't know Sally that well, so she's not really so much the same way as like the final girl as Laurie Strode, for instance. It doesn't quite work. And to be fair, most of these legacy ones generally haven't fucking worked because they're just not strong enough characters. Look at Know What You Did Last Summer, for instance, kind of thing. But here there was such a lacking kind of thing, like in that 2022 one of why, and also the fact that they bring back a completely different actress, which is even more than fucking stupid. Of like, they don't fucking do it. Don't do it if you've got to recast the actress to play it anyway. But the one thing I can say is though, however, if they then did the legacy one, I'm not saying to do this, and I'm not saying it's a good idea, but I'm just saying you'd have a lot more if Jessica Biel came back to do 10, 20 years from now, another Texas Chainsaw that is a follow-up from this one, including the stuff with the kid and stuff like that, and how she gets away at the end and stuff like that. There's a lot more story to build on than there ever was to do with Sally, kind of thing. You know, I understand trying to use the original film, but you know, there is more a case to say that there is a lot more character that we've got here from Erin and Erin's journey here, and what we know of her and what we know by the time she leaves, that could be built upon in the future, if you see what I mean. And I don't know why that popped into my head. I just remembered thinking about 2022 and then how much it pissed me off, the whole Sally thing, where I thought was just dumb.
Well, Sally had a great, like, conclusion to her character. So many times they do it. They go, oh, like, we'll bring this final girl as a legacy character and she dies. Or they do, like, the Friday the 13th Part 2 with Alice, where they kill her off in the beginning. And just going, oh, yeah, she was fucking cooked and died in a mental asylum because she was so scarred. There's something there which is just like, oh, all right, that's the way to fucking write them out. It's brutal. So but they put Erin through a lot. One thing that comes back to me when people are talking about this film is a lot of people are going about like Jessica Biel, the cowboy hat, and the white vest. I'm rocking the white vest.
I mean, one thing of these remake ones is definitely that it seems to all be about basically lasses with large tits who wear a white vest. I'm talking about Alex Daddario in is that 3D?
That is 3D.
Yeah, I was going to say. If beginning was the one with Alex Daddario, then you've got terrible taste in saying that's good, because there's fucking terrible twists and stuff in that one.
Terrible twists, but fun.
But I enjoyed watching Alex Daddario in that film. In the same way, I enjoyed watching Jessica Biel in this film. But I get the whole like she's in a cowboy hat, things like that. But I also don't think it's necessarily like it is fucking the middle of heat of fucking summer in Texas or whatever
Texas,
it is. And fucking like someone wearing it up. I mean, if we did a Scary Movie, if Gay Ray can pull it off in Scary Movie, then Jessica Biel could definitely have a little bit of a tie-up shirt in this.
And here's the thing: the cowboy hat in Texas, it's a very iconic thing. That's fine. Cowboy hat in England is very much you are trench coat mafia, or you're the weirdo who wears it down the pub, who's got a massive fucking dong. Yeah. The weirdo down the pub always has a massive cock. That's one thing. You need to,
no specialist opinion of that one.
Well, there was a guy.
We had a guy in Gloucester who used to always basically. In fact, we had one when we lived in Churchdown.
I was
there was one in Gloucester.
The one in Churchdown who always wore the cowboy hat and the frilly shirts. Dude was fucking packing. Standing next to a urinal.
I was like, how do you do that?
Yeah,
this is about to turn dark in this episode.
Very dark.
He packed it into me.
Yeah,
I felt it.
Like, gotta pay tribute to him, I don't know. I never spoke to him. Don't know what he's doing.
The dancing cowboy.
He was I don't know if he was the dancing cowboy.
Was that the dancing cowboy? Or was we had a dancing cowboy. He had his own fucking house that was decorated out with dancing cowboy stuff. I actually think it was the dancing cowboy.
Maybe, but that's the kind of person.
And then we have another dude who's a fucking major who looks just like just like Keith Richards out of fucking Rolling Stone. He walks around town all the time.
And he drinks pints of Stella out of a measuring jug.
Yes,
you know,
yes, absolutely. But you look at him and you go, fucking hell, like it literally is like that's what Keith Richards would have been if he didn't if he didn't make some class on.
He wears Uggs as well, which is quite a fashion statement. But those are the kind of people in England who wear a cowboy hat.
Yes.
Whereas in America, in Texas especially, it's fine. It's cool.
It's sunny. You've got to block out that sun.
You've got to block out that sun. I'd wear a cowboy hat.
She proves from the beginning. She doesn't do drugs, things like that. She makes good choices. She doesn't want melanoma.
No, she doesn't.
She's got that sun hat on.
She's got it.
Apparently, she doesn't think her belly's going to get much, but still.
Yeah, belly's fine.
Belly's fine.
And the top of her breasts are fine. You know? But yeah, I think Jessica Biel does does a decent job.
You do have to remember that this was produced by Michael Bay.
Ah.
So I'm pretty sure he puts it into every female's contracts that they have to show some form of near tit.
Probably. Was the man himself, in the infamous sense, not in the legendary sense, was he involved with this?
Mr. Weinstein.
Mr. Weinstein? I feel like he must have been around somewhere.
I don't know.
Sniffing around.
I'm sure he sniffed around Jessica Biel.
Probably.
But
up to no bloody good.
I'm sure most actors sadly had to be in a room with him at some point. But
I don't know
if this is the same company that made this one.
No, I like her in the role. I do prefer Jordana Brewster in the sequel, though. I'm going to put that out there. Also, rocking the kind of white.
Jordana Brewster in the beginning.
In the prequel, in the beginning, yeah. I prefer.
I forgot again. I completely forgot about that film. So
watch it. It's good, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to the film. So she finds Morgan, and they kind of like Morgan's been beat the fuck out of as well.
Oh yeah, this man's been like fucking thrown around, knocked down, knocked out, smashed across the head, and now he's fucking sat in a bath.
Sat in a bath, unconscious. But he's lost his glasses.
No, sat. I said sad in a bath.
Sad in a bath.
Sad. He looked like a little sack.
He's not got his glasses. His eyes must be
His back's
fucked.
a bit fucked up as well.
He can't see anything without his glasses. He does the Velma.
Yeah.
I can't see anything.
Can't see anything without glasses.
I really like his death.
Yeah, me too. I always remember this one. As an iconic.
I didn't. No.
The only thing I thought is I always think of it in a different way. Mm-hmm. So obviously they get chased through, they get chased into like an old shack kind of thing. They try to like hide, it doesn't quite work, and then Morgan tries to be the kind of somewhat to stand in the way, I guess, and it obviously didn't fucking work.
No, of course
and then he gets then hooked up onto the light. Which I always thought, for some reason in my head, I've always thought that it was like a sharp light shade, and I thought his back got onto it, and not. How does he get hooked onto it? That's the one bit.
Because he's got the handcuffs still on.
Oh yeah,
so
there's the handcuffs.
Just fucking grabs it. Puts
it up. Whereas in my head, because of the classic putting backs onto hooks, spines onto hooks, I always thought that somehow Leatherface used the force to literally force him onto a chandelier.
He uses the force.
Yeah, not that force.
Yeah,
using his strong muscular force to literally. I always thought he literally like put his back through a fucking chandelier. That's the only difference I remembered it, and I'm not saying that because I think that would also be pretty fucking class. Yeah. But no, he hooks him with his thing and then slices him in fucking half.
Yeah, he cuts him up his balls, doesn't he?
Does he cut up his balls?
I'm pretty sure he goes.
I thought it was horizontal, not vertical.
I think he goes vertical.
Is it vertical?
I seem to remember it being horizontal.
My brain was that his legs drop off.
No, because you don't really see it. I'm pretty sure he goes up.
I've only just watched it the other day, and my brain's already thinking of it in a different way.
He goes up the clackers.
Maybe he does go up the clackers. I don't know.
Because again, it's not one where it's like overly gratuitous where you see it.
The
next film we're covering.
I don't know why I thought it just dropped off, but yeah. No. I thought in my brain I could see the legs dropping off for some reason. I don't know why.
But that's it. That's almost like
the paints the image in your head. Yeah.
Because you hear the scream.
You don't see it actually as much as you think you do.
You hear the thrum of the chainsaw.
That's what I mean. My brain is crazy. It's like, and with a lot of the original Francis and all those, like, you think you see a lot more than you actually do.
Yeah.
But there is still more of a high level of gore here anyway. There's more blood and more like splattering and more stuff like that. The opening alone is just like that. Andy's scenes are pretty fucking brutalised. It's kind of brutal. His leg getting lopped off. You do see his leg get. You see the splatter, but you do see his leg get crunched off.
It's got a really solid level of gore. It earns its 18 certificate. but it never falls into being like gratuitous. I don't find.
Yes.
I feel like every kill cuts off kind of like just before you see something too bad, so it does linger in your mind a bit more of, actually I saw his legs drop off, or I saw like, you know, I 100% saw that, you know, dagger go into Andy's heart. I saw the blade go into Pepper, but it's all kind of masterfully done. And then we get the bit in the slaughterhouse where
this is quite a long.
It's quite protracted.
This is quite a long chase. This was my only thing I did feel from rewatching it, is I didn't remember it being quite as like ongoing as it is in this. Like it's quite a long chase scene. Well, I remembered it more. I remember it being shorter than it actually was.
Well, the original doesn't really spend too long. Once she's been captured, you get Grandad, you know, best in the game, trying to conquer on the head.
Yeah.
You get a bit around the dinner table, but they're just kind of acting hysterically, and then she yeets herself out of the window and runs. So the ending is quite quick. Whereas this one does feel like we get the bit where she escapes after hot wiring the car, and then she gets drugged, and then she's in the basement, and Jedediah helps them escape, and then Morgan dies, and then she's in the slaughterhouse.
And then we also get another bit.
And then we also get another bit. So the bit in the slaughterhouse is cool, with the, you know, the big hanging bits of meat.
Having the bodies go along and moving them along as they're like going by. And also the way he like slices through one of the like straight through it kind of thing. That's pretty cool kind of like chase. Like that's why I didn't mind that bit too much. I just did think that this last little bit goes on just a bit longer than it necessarily needs to for the kind of final, because we get the kind of the chase and overcomes him and manages to get away from him inside of the when knocked down in the locker.
Chops his arm off, which is cool.
Yeah, that's a cool little part. And then obviously she manages to get down. Once she's out, she manages to get a lorry, doesn't she?
Yeah, she gets the trucker.
Yeah, and she gets him with him, and then trying to get down the road, but again, she's like as if it's going the wrong place.
Yeah,
with linking back round to the start kind of thing. And then she sneaks off, and then they realise that they've to kind of wrap up there as the kind of that she's
need to get the baby.
You know? Yeah. She's got after that, got the baby, and then we get Leatherface in not the same kind of spinning, swirling kind of the original film, but because he slices into his leg, doesn't he?
Yeah,
his own leg gets he goes after to get her and manages to catch himself, and then we're kind of left with just Leatherface there, like fucking like
Yeah, well, I think he slashes his leg when she chases him. They go over some barbed wire, and she scuttles under, and he does it, but then he drops and falls on her. So he's cut his leg before they get into the slaughterhouse. But in the end, when she gets into the car and then she starts like mowing them down, and she sees Hoyt, and she fucking runs him over, and then backs up over him, goes over him.
Oh, I like that bit, because there is a kind of, again, like we said before, Hoyt in many ways feels more like the true villain of this film. Then like Leatherface is the monster that they let free in this film. I'd say Hoyt is the villain. Like, so it's nice that he gets a proper offing.
I wonder what Monty's doing in all of this.
Probably still trying to wheel his way over.
Probably just trying to make his way there. He's in like a field. Yeah. And there's the barbed wire.
Fuck it, there's a fence. Fuck.
Well, because he's in a wheelchair, they've made like some wheelchair accessible ways to get over the fence. But there's like one, and it's like a mile.
It's like, that's what I mean. He gets the right way, and then he's got to go big.
He's like, I've got to roll a mile before I get there.
This is purely, by the way, from the capability that he shows inside the house, that he's barely even made to get himself a mobile thing. This is not a ableist thing.
No, it's not.
It's just the fact he's got to get through one field, and then he's got to literally turn like right for a mile, and then turn left to get through again, and then back.
They're like dirt poor, so they're like, we can't make loads of reasonable adjustments.
Yeah, exactly.
You could have a ramp.
They've made him like a little wooden box to get around on. Yeah, basically. He hasn't got like a good wheelchair.
No, they probably stole it from someone.
Yeah.
But then
it's nicer than like basically dragging him around on like a cloth.
Yeah,
like a bit of a sheet, just dragging him through the fields on it. Like,
that was the idea.
They gave him Sunday.
The original idea. But yeah, then it kind of leads back around to the investigation, and then we get the bit which I do feel has become probably the most iconic of it, where they repeat the opening, and then
because they say about basically imply that it was a poorly handled kind of thing, that they hadn't looked around the area carefully, and it's implied in the beginning, and then here at the end they say about the mishandling of the case kind of thing, that the fact that it had not been checked over properly. When we get him go down, and then we suddenly get the fucking final flash of Leatherface comes out.
It's really cool.
Which is really cool. It's a cool little jump scare at the end. I don't think it's necessarily like expected, because it's meant to be more of a crime scene afterwards. You don't think of that. And again, I think that whole framing device is really clever.
Oh, I think it's great.
I think it makes it feel, again, it makes it feel more real. It makes it feel a bit more like a true story, even though, it's not really. It makes it feel more kind of, again, adds to that kind of level of like that dirtiness and griminess as well, because we get to see that kind of aftermath of everything.
Yeah.
We're like, what the fuck happened with Leatherface kind of thing, of what happened.
Where's he gone?
Yeah.
It's just got one arm knocking about.
Yeah, just sitting about.
But yeah, overall I think it's a great film.
Yes.
Which I guess leads us on to the must-see horror.
Yes.
I think we can...
Well, we don't have to say... we did, obviously, the original film, but that wasn't when we were doing must-see horror, and I don't think there's a question in our minds of that being a must.
No.
You must see the original. If you've not seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, you must see it.
Yeah.
The question is, when it comes to these remakes, is that many people call them disposable, throwaway, and that they haven't really got their own worth, so you wouldn't necessarily say that they are in the best of thing. And whether I would put it necessarily in that kind of top is kind of a question in my mind. Yeah. However, it is a horror for me personally that I think was formative of my love of horror.
Yeah.
And it is one that I did see before the original, not saying, and again, I think the original is obviously a better film. But I do think there are some truly great horror kind of parts of this. And I do think some of it feels well fleshed out and original for the time. When I'm thinking, again, yes, we got a slaughter of remakes which were not always consistently that good. Didn't feel like they were necessarily honoured much of the original films. Felt like a carbon copy that wasn't that good. And also, generally, this was also released in what I think is one of the weakest periods of horror films.
Yeah.
The early 2000s are generally a shit show of dumpster horror.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I feel like it is, unfortunately.
And not that there's not gems in there, but I think if I was to talk in that time period of the early 2000s, I'd probably point this out as one of my more favourite horrors of that time period.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say I think people should see this film. I think people should see the two, because it's not the same film. If you enjoy if you enjoy things like that, we talked about problems with Leatherface, yes, but still, I think it's just a very well made horror film. So I would say for people that enjoy Texas Chainsaw and slashers, and in some ways for people that like a classic slasher, it has some ways more things that are more accessible necessarily than the original. For people that are kind of that level with them, I think I'd still stick with must-see horror. I think I'd put it on a list.
Yeah,
in my top 100, I think it would fit in there, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's in terms of as a remake, I think it's a very worthy remake. It doesn't fall into shot by shot like Psycho. I feel like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake was a bit too close to the original and didn't. It took some shots which I admire, but it was a bit of like a stumble. Whereas I feel this one is strong. It works as a great modernisation. I think if you're a fan of the original and you do want to see certain elements fleshed out, like the family, I think you'll enjoy it. It does have kind of the same level of grottiness. If you're put off by watching the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there are people who are like, I don't want to watch an old film because it's too old. I feel like this would be a good one to watch and then be like, okay, if I like this one, maybe I'll go back and I'll watch the original. The reason why I say that is because whilst this one does tell a bit of like a modernised and a slightly different story, I feel like a good chunk of the story beats are enough that you could, you'll enjoy this if you you'll enjoy the original if you enjoy this, and you'll enjoy this if you liked the original. So yeah, I feel like in terms of must-see horror, I don't know, because I don't know how we're doing it in terms of like the 100, the one strictly on the poster. So I will kind of abstain from that. But in terms of remakes, I would say it's a must-see remake. You know, there were a lot of them that aren't, especially in that era. You know, this did kick off a whole wave of like some very middling, some that I really like, My Bloody Valentine, some that I think are pure fucking dog shit. Prom Night,
awful.
Yeah, rather spat in my own eye. Black Christmas, I can't really remember. But yeah.
No, yeah. Good.
So
I think so we're mainly in agreement that would probably fit into our list there. So yeah, I think it is one of the stronger. I think it's one of the stronger remakes, if I'm honest.
Yeah, definitely.
Because again, that's a very like mixed kind of crowd there.
Yeah, and I'd also say check out the beginning. I really like it.
You're a big advocate.
I'm a big advocate of it. But
that one's even worse received than this one.
It was, whereas I think it's probably better. That's just little old me. Come and let us know your thoughts on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2000. If you think it's a worthy remake, if you don't think it holds a candle, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at CMTH Podcast. As always, make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave us a lovely review. It really does help the show grow, and we do appreciate it. Until then, play us out, fellas.